Okay, so here we are. This is the start of the OGR, and this is the start of the web TV for OGR with Aida, and we've got Campbell and Mackie here from what was the name of your boat?
Outlaw.
Outlaw, and we've got India as the young lady on board the boat as well. And so the plan is we'll be doing a live every day, around about we'll go to air at about probably I don't know 11:30 or something. And we'll be talking to the crews and some celebrities and bits and pieces, and it's all extremely professional. And now I'll hand you over to Aida.
And if you want to come to see us here, because it's alive, so it's every day. We will be here every morning at
10:30.
10:30 with the skipper. Every day another skipper, another boat. Sometimes it will be two skippers, two boats. So the idea is just to have you here, because you can also ask questions to the skippers, and that will help us. So to make it short, we are very happy to be here today with you, Campbell and India. Thank you.
Thank you.
You sail for the next month's Outlaw, a Baltic 55, originally built for the 1985 with braid. Am I right?
That's correct. Yep.
And I think you will sail with 11 crew, including 10 permanents.
Yep. 10 of us are rounders, and then there's one berth that will be filled by 4 different leggers, one for each leg. So.
Okay, and I think for her age, your boat is in remarkable condition.
Bit like a skipper, really.
Yeah, exactly. What do you like the most in your boat?
Well, it's interesting, you know, when you're putting a boat together like this in isolation, as we were in America, I looked at it and thought, oh, you know, I didn't know whether it was really going to cut the mustard, but since we've got here and started to see some of the other boats, I'm thinking it is in pretty good condition.
Are you suggesting the others aren't? If yours is so good? I mean, Explorer's okay.
I think that we're at a good standard within the group.
Absolutely.
You know, I'm not feeling like that we're the poor cousin, put it that way.
Far from it. Yeah, you're looking good.
So what do I like about the boat? Well, I like the history of it. I think the whole thing of it having been in a previous whitbread is pretty nice. I like the way she sails. We had a good passage over from America with a trip up from the Azores, which was all upwind, and then of course the Fastnet a few weeks ago. Boy, that was upwind, and I think the crew found it more difficult than the boat. Once we got the right sail plan going, she just goes like a rocket to windward. I was pretty happy with it.
Yeah. Listen, I reckon we should not get too technical too quick. Let's talk about the people. You're going to sail with 11 people on the boat, and you've got a mix. How many women on board?
3 women.
3 women, okay. And so, India, you've got an interesting background. Tell us what you actually do in the other part of the world, and how you ended up on Outlaw.
Yeah, so earlier this year I qualified as a deck officer in the Merchant Navy, so it's an unlimited ticket, so I can go anywhere, drive any ship of any size, which is quite cool.
That's cool.
And that's really where I learned my celestial navigation, so that's how I got onto the team, really. Bumped into someone that was actually going to sail as the first mate on board, but is no longer doing that, and we've got Rinza that's stepped into his shoes. And so yes.
And what about your sailing background? Like
my sailing background, yes. So I'm from the UK. I'm quite local, so most of my sailing background is actually from the Solent. I did a transatlantic back in 2019. And did a little bit of sailing out in Australia as well.
In the race, or is that one of your first race of your young life?
So in Australia I was doing just some evening racing, inshore racing, and then the transatlantic was just a boat delivery, so not an offshore race. So yes, my first big ocean race.
How did you feel today? Because you arrived today in the race village. You arrived around midday, I think.
Yes.
A lot of the competitors were already here. How did you feel
lots of eyes on us.
to see all these eyes on you arriving?
Yeah, no, it was great. It's really nice to see everyone. It's been such a long campaign as well. So it's nice to see everyone make it to the start line. Well, not everyone, but good number of crews make it to the start line.
We had like 24, then COVID came along, and it's been decreasing ever since. We've got 14, which is still pretty impressive. The first whitbread had 17, 18, I think it was. 17, so we're doing okay. So, okay, I could ask Campbell, but he'll tell stories. describe some of the other crew that you've got on the boat. You know, their age, background, just quickly, just brief. You know.
Okay. Well, I am the youngest on board.
Yeah.
I'm the under 24, and then I've got another guy who is 26, Mehdi, who has actually recently joined the team. He was on one of the crews that had to pull out, unfortunately. But we're grateful because it means we've got him, and he's really great. And we've got Matt, who is out in Australia, lives out in Australia, who's the next youngest. He's still a little bit older, and then the rest of the crew are sort of mid-50s upwards.
The grey beard brigade. Yeah.
Lots of experience though, which is
absolutely.
what we need, exactly. And a mixture of nationalities as well, a mixture of backgrounds. So it's really great. And we're all very different. We've got a lot of different skill sets, but it's perfect.
This was my question for you, Campbell. When you made your selection for your crew, what were the qualities you are expected or looking for?
Well, I guess my pathway into ocean racing has been through Clipper, and so I've done that a couple of times, and that was an obvious hunting ground to find people that I'd sailed with before. So I got a core group out of that I knew were good sailors, but also had the mental resilience, because it's very interesting. I was reading something in a magazine in Australia last year where one of the skippers of the big Maxies was saying, the Hobart's a sprint, and so people think that they've done everything when they do the Hobart, but he said when the custard hits the fan, it's the guys that have sailed across oceans that dig you out of the mess. And that's kind of a little bit of what I thought. And then, of course, on the road, along the way, nothing stays the same, so some people pulled out and then we've brought other people in, but I think with that core group we had a good foundation to build on, and I'm pretty happy we've been very fortunate with the people we've found, I have to say. But one of them is not really an experienced sailor, but a mountaineer and an expeditioner, and my judgment, one of the ladies, and my judgment of her was that she would have you can learn to sail, but it's a lot harder to learn how to manage yourself for 6 weeks at sea when the going's tough. And I think she'll do that standing on her head.
So we need to set the scene on what happened here and how you ended up in the Ocean Globe race. It goes something like this, that Campbell and I, we're both from Adelaide, and I happened to be in Adelaide giving a presentation about the race. I'd never met Campbell, walking down the marina, and he knew me and said, hey, I want to speak to you, I want a crew on the Ocean Globe race. And I said, well, what have you done? And he said, I did the Clipper race a couple of times with Sir Robin and twice around the world. And I said, are you kidding me? I said, get together with a few people, buy your boat and actually enter. And he scratched his head and thought, let me think about this. It was a few days later, you ring up and they said, yeah, I think I'm going to do it. And it's quite a story. And I know you've blown the budget, but the crew are basically part of a cooperative, right?
Yeah, we haven't blown the budget too seriously. I mean, how do you ever budget for something like this? It's a 40-year-old boat. There's always things that you've never thought of, or things that you find that aren't quite the way they need to be. So yeah, we're over budget, but probably only 10%. So I think that's still a pretty good achievement. But yeah, I think you described it pretty neatly, Don. You said it's an owners cooperative. So basically, there are 11 people and four legs, so there's 44 shares, and you buy a share for each leg, and so the rounders all have an equal share. We all have 4 shares in the company that owns the boat, and you put the money into the company, and that's how we funded it.
And at the end of the day, you sell the boat.
And then the money gets distributed back.
And it's a cool boat. I mean, it's one of the things about being a production boat race. You still have a serious asset at the end of it. I mean, you could rip some of those pipe cots out and go world cruising or something. And, and so it's not a carbon fibre machine that's hard to work out what to do with it at the end.
No, that's quite right.
So let's get into the emotions of what's going on. Are you happy where you are at the moment? I know there's probably been frustrations. Tell me a bit about the emotional journey for you, Campbell, to get to this point.
Yeah, well, mental resilience has been pretty important. I think you said getting to the start line was half or more of the battle. When we were getting ready to leave America at the beginning of May, I was wound up like a 2-bob watch. I was really struggling with it. There were just so many streams that all had to come together. then we had trouble getting a rigger to come up to. We were in Albany, in upstate New York, on the Hudson River. Getting somebody to come out of Newport and drive 3 hours to Albany was a real struggle. So when we slipped lines in Albany, I was thinking, not sure we're really ready for this. So the people on the dock were pretty happy. In fact, some of the people on the boatyard were actually crying. We formed a fantastic relationship with the Scaranos and their staff, and there's no doubt in my mind that in hindsight, if we hadn't have been there, we would have been over time and over budget.
Yeah.
So we went off down the Hudson, and eventually, a couple of days, we got to New York, and we were parked up in North Cove, which is about 400 metres from the tower. I started to relax a bit then. I started to enjoy the moment. Then we had 5 fairly frantic days in Newport with riggers on the boat and a whole bunch of other stuff. And I'm thinking, here we are, we're a bunch of people, a lot of whom the first time they'd met was when they all arrived in Albany. I was wondering, I thought, this Transat's a pretty ambitious thing.
Yeah.
But I think that's just my happy place, and we had our problems on the way across, nothing too serious, and we managed it all. And I think for me it was really very, very pleasing to see how the crew, people who had never met, all worked together and got on. There were no arguments. There were a few moments where people were a bit anxious, various ones about certain things, but we coped and we really worked as a team very quickly.
Yeah.
So that was, to me, very rewarding.
There's a few things there. First of all, you bought the boat sight unseen in America. They've been sitting on the hard for 10 years.
Yep.
10 years with doing nothing, and that means a major rebuild. But they're cool boats, eh? These sort of what I call heavy displacement, ocean-going, voyaging vessels, are not like anything else. Describe your feeling on that one.
Well, buying it sight unseen, I never thought in my life I'd do that. I had a few things that helped though. I had a friend in America who I'd sailed with in Singapore days. He went up and had a look at the boat. Then he discovered he had a connection to the family in the boatyard through some intermediaries. He checked them out, and that sort of came up pretty well. And I already had that sense just from dealing with them. I actually felt pretty comfortable with the principals of the firm and the people we were buying the boat from. Then we got a surveyor up. I think for me, as soon as we got there in late May 22, we just started ripping everything out of the boat. We pulled all the tankage out, we pulled all the wiring out. We just dismantled it as much as we possibly could. We had the keel off the mast out. And then I got a guy to come up from Newport to ultrasonically test the whole hull. And he just came off the boat after a day and said they just don't make boats like this anymore.
Exactly. No, I know exactly what you mean. So
it's pretty solid.
Let's push back into the emotions again. India, what's your biggest fear at the moment for the race?
My biggest fear, I'd say I've not done any sailing in the Southern Ocean before, so it's going to be those southern legs. Not the whole thing, obviously, but just the tougher conditions down there, the temperature drop. We're prepared, we've got really good gear, and I know that I've stocked up on thermals and stuff, but it is probably, the tough conditions down south.
And your biggest anticipation, what are you looking forward to the most?
Just being offshore for such a long period of time, being cut off from everything. I think we just get wrapped up into a lot of media. Ironic that I'm saying this on an interview.
I have another question.
Yes.
What's in your family about this long
My
trip?
family, they're so supportive. They're so supportive. My friends and family, when I told them, it didn't really come as a shock to them. I think they knew that I was going to go and do something similar to this, not quite around the world, at obviously 23, but no, they weren't shocked at all. And I'm very lucky. I've got 2 sponsors that are backing me, and they're so enthusiastic, and they're almost more supportive than my friends and family. They're so excited for me.
Good.
Yeah.
And Campbell, biggest fear?
Not finishing.
It's an important one.
Yeah. No, I want to finish.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not. I'll be okay. You know,
Yeah.
that's you just got to make sure you look after the boat to get it around the track.
Yeah. You did the Clipper twice, which is unusual in itself. How does that now relate to the OGR? What was the drive to get you into the OGR from that? The attraction.
Two things, I think. Celestial navigation.
Oh yeah.
Because this is completely unplanned, but all these things have just fallen into place to take me along a path, and I guess that's the way I've lived my life. Things come along, it looks like a good idea, just let's do
grab it.
So I did a celestial navigation course in the Falklands, and then we navigated Pelagic Australis, Skip Novak's boat from there back to Cape Town with the GPS off.
Yeah.
And I found that very rewarding. And I guess the other aspect is Cape Horn. I think for sailors, you really haven't been around the world until you've done that. That's the last sort of summit. Yeah.
So you've both mentioned dropping all the stuff, the satellites, the communications, constant screens, and all that sort of stuff. How does the rest of the crew feel about that? It seems to be a developing constant theme. People are getting off on the isolation of all the other stuff.
I think the young ones will struggle getting out of their iPhones, but I think we all enjoy, you know, the way the world has become with the 24-hour news cycle and lots of opinion and not much fact. It's actually quite nice. In my previous experience of this is that you find out the major things that have happened in the world, but you might find out a week or two after. Sometimes it's only a few days, and you don't get all the opinion and the blather that goes on. It's bliss. Yeah. The only thing that I think people are a bit anxious about is that they can't have an iPod or something like that.
The music.
The music.
Oh, I love that bit. Ooh.
So the idea of tapes is testing people's patience.
Good. Good.
Yeah.
So okay, Ada, what's next? What's next?
You asked all the question. And
No, you can go now. I want your perspective on this.
No, I was wondering also because I kind of see your crew when you arrived. How many nationalities you have on board?
I'll have to count them off. So British, French, New Zealand, US, Dutch, Australian. That's about it, isn't it?
I think so.
Yeah, that's still pretty good.
5 or 6.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and the blend of that has changed over time because we had 2 or 3 We've had 3 people pull out.
Yeah. And that was from the experience, or just the people, or what do you think?
One for probably family reasons.
Yeah.
Another just wasn't happy with the whole thing. I think the Transat probably made him uncomfortable.
Yeah.
For a whole range of quite complex reasons. And then who was the third one? I've forgotten.
You always re-entered.
Huh?
Mike.
Yeah. Well, Mike and Dougie and and then we had one position that out of the leggers that we hadn't filled. So
it's really going to be a feature of the OGR, the whole crew dynamic, for various reasons. You know, it's a huge challenge. So some people will obviously be overwhelmed by the nature of the challenge at hand. Others could be challenged by getting on with people in confined spaces and so on. Others could be challenged by family, and I think it's an interesting story in itself. You know, there's the challenge and the adventure of doing it. There's the boats that play an integral part, and then there's the human dynamic, and I think that's going to be an interesting play. I think every port we're going to see things, you know, that are quite interesting. Are you filming? You're filming and everything? And
we'll be filming on board. I've got a little camera, and then I'm not actually the media person though. Matt's going to be filming and sending it off to you guys. But we'll try and get as much content as we can.
Have you got an onboard crew plan to handle the stress component? Like, you know, once a week you have a screaming session with everyone together and just let it out, or what do you do?
Not yet, no.
No? Oh, you'll need that.
Maybe.
Pressure relief.
I think the Maiden girls do that. They have a scream session.
Maybe we should do that in the office. Though.
Oh, we will. It's important.
I think what we'll probably do, there's some discussion about, you know, getting everybody together once a day to just talk about how the day's gone and what's coming. that'll have to be weather dependent. My previous experience of this has been probably celebrating people's birthdays. So all of this is weather dependent, obviously, but happy hour.
Yeah. You
So,
got alcohol on board? You dry ship?
yes, but very limited. So again, this is my experience from Clipper. We'd put some alcohol on board, put it in the skipper's locker, and he would decide when. And it might, on a Clipper unit, might have 20 people, so it's a bottle of scotch between 20 people. It's a nip, and that's it. I mean, you've got to be careful.
Yeah.
So we haven't made a firm decision on that.
Yep.
We might just have orange juice. So, I mean, some people don't drink, so
Yeah. What about food? What's the primary food?
We're going normal food.
Normal
mostly,
food.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pressure cooker.
Yeah.
We have got some freeze dried, but it's more of a backup.
Yeah.
And we'll just be cooking.
Yeah. What about watch system?
still talking about it. There's, to be honest, I haven't really put too much time into that. I've just been so preoccupied with getting everything ready.
Yeah.
But over the next week or so, we'll figure that out. I mean, we've done 6-6 and 3-4s at night.
Yeah, that's a good one, I reckon, for 10
I
people.
quite like it, but others have got a preference for maybe a rolling watch system.
Oh yeah, change some.
I just think with 11 people, it's going to be a bloody complicated matrix.
Absolutely.
Figuring out who goes on and off. But it does have, so Lucy Frost, who is on our crew, she did a trip on Maiden and experienced that. She said one of the advantages of it is that you don't just get a whole cohort leaving the deck at the same time, and right. So there's a more of a continuum. So look, it's still in discussion. I think.
Okay. Short answers. What about water? What are you doing for water and showering? What's the human cleanliness issues on board? How are you going to have showers, or aren't you?
Well, we've got a water maker,
Yeah.
and we carry about 400 litres of 400 or 500 litres of water. If you want to shower at salt water, you can maybe get a half a litre of fresh water to wash off.
Yeah.
You know, in the hot legs, when you're in the tropics, well, we just bucket of water and sitting on the stern and then wash off. In the cold legs, I've done 6 weeks, well, not 6 weeks, 5 weeks without a shower, just baby wipes.
I know the story.
Well, you
yeah.
actually, the biggest trick is to stay dry.
Yeah.
Your kit doesn't get wet. You know, with all the modern stuff and wool fibre and that, it's really not a big deal.
Yeah. Not too true. Okay. So, a pet subject. Ooh, get ready to cringe, everybody. Head department. Are guys allowed to pee over the side, or they got to sit down and in the head compartment?
Sit down.
In the head compartment. Yeah, it's an interesting subject because Tapio's the same. All the boys in the heads, sit down.
Look, we don't have excessively high fence. I think hanging off the stern's dangerous.
Big stern, you're going to pee all over the trench.
Well, it's counter, but no, sit down in the heads.
Yeah, cool. Okay. Is that the good answer to the question?
I hope it's not the last question.
No, I was going to say, come on, change the subject.
How do you feel? I have a question for you. You did the BOC, so many things. How do you feel to interview a skipper going around the world in 2 weeks and sitting here?
I feel very jealous.
And having a boat in the race.
I feel very jealous.
Having a boat.
Yes.
Seeing the skippers and sitting here making interviews. How do you
know,
feel?
I mean, I would love to be out there sailing this race. There's no question, but I got to say, I absolutely love what's going on, and our little team, voila, Jane behind the camera, Marco over there, Georgie, everyone in the team. You know, we got a cool little team. There's only 8 of us, I think, running this amazing event, and that's exciting, and it's its own adventure. So maybe later I'll have a crack at it. But yeah, it's fun for us, as you know. How do you feel, Aida?
Great.
Would you rather go?
No one wants me.
All the boys will sit down like you sit down.
I tried to be crew on few boats. They all said no. Actually, I have seasick. The name of your team is Spirit of Adelaide. I think I didn't mention. Is because you are coming from Adelaide, right? That's why the name.
Well, yeah. Look, when we started this journey, we didn't have a boat, so we needed some kind of moniker to call the team, and I guess my anticipation was we'd probably call the boat Spirit of Adelaide, but it's a bit long and untidy. And then when we found the boat was called Outlaw, we thought, well, we've got a bunch of Poms and a bunch of Aussies, and they're badnage between them about criminals and exportation. Maybe Outlaw kind of fitted with the theme. We like the name. That's a good name.
Hey, he's got a claim to fame. You know what his claim to fame is, don't you?
No.
He's the oldest guy in the race.
Don't
How do you
like
feel?
Oh, I don't think about it much.
Oh, right.
No,
Yeah,
it's just... yeah.
absolutely. I'm only 28.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Actually, somebody did ask me that. I just feel lucky that I can do it. I mean, I'll run out of steam eventually, but so far so good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I just feel privileged to be able to do it.
Yeah.
Never, my journey since retirement never ceases to amaze me. None of this is planned. It's just
I
Providence.
remember the day we met on the dock very well. It's crisp and clean. It's all about grabbing opportunities.
yeah.
Yeah.
When did you start sailing?
How?
How?
My father moved around. We moved around South Australia as a family, and we moved to Port Lincoln in 1962. And I'd already been quite. I've got a lot in common with Tapio because he's at the other end of the whole
Yeah.
Finnish sailing ship
Yeah,
stories.
absolutely.
And I started reading Alan Villiers' books when I lived in an inland country town, but in those days you went to the library and pulled out books, you know.
These are books about the clipper ships. People
Yeah.
won't know about
So
Alan Villiers.
I got
Yeah.
very interested in that whole story of the square riggers, and then
Yeah.
I moved to Lincoln, and I thought I'd died and gone to heaven. And
Yeah.
my father bought a holdfast trainer, and I learnt to sail in that. And I met people in Lincoln in those days, in the 60s, who had actually, who were probably my father's age, but who had signed on to some of those ships and sailed from Port Victoria back to England. on
Yeah,
them.
yeah.
So I just got drawn. It's been a lifelong passion.
Yeah, the connect there is that basically when Sir Francis Chichester went around the world, he was going around to beat the clipper ships' times. You know, there's the ships sailing from Europe to Adelaide in Australia to pick up wool and grain and all that sort of stuff, and sail that raced them back to Europe again. And then it started the Golden Globe, and then it went to the Whitbread. You know, all races that evolved from that clipper ship routine. And I failed to mention that the reason I was in Adelaide to give a presentation at the Yacht Club, we seriously thought about taking the Ocean Globe race as a stopover in Adelaide, but in the end Auckland won out on that argument. But Adelaide's got a huge history of the clipper ships. You know, yeah.
Port Victoria is probably the epicentre. You
Of the
might
whole
find
thing.
it a bit hard to run a stop over there. It's a
No, well,
pretty
look,
small
I got to
place.
tell you, in 2027, possibly Port Victoria may become a rounding mark of the course wherever the mid-stopover will be, because it's just a good talking point for the thing. We couldn't do it this time, but anyway, that's another story. All right.
It's another story for another day.
Absolutely.
What about that?
Yes. You got a last one, Ada? Ask the last one.
Thank you very much. No, the last question is, what is in the other questions that you would like me to ask you and I didn't?
Oh, what would you like me to like to ask? you?
Yeah.
Anything you want to say?
Anything. No,
Something
just
for someone like
extremely
you are less than 22, I think.
exciting.
for example.
I'm 23.
If I was 20
Yes.
and I wanted to go to sail around the world,
Yeah.
what is the first thing that you would say to don't be scared, or to don't think it's not possible to find the money, to find the energy, or
Yeah.
to don't to do it?
I think if
What's your
you
advice?
just go for it, and if your heart is really in it, you really want to do it, you'll find a way to make it work. You'll find people that, if you don't have the money, you'll find people that will help you out. If you really, really want to do it and you're passionate about it, then go for it. Don't
Yeah,
overthink it, just go for it.
Which is a perfect conclusion for our today meeting.
Absolutely.
Because this is the OGR actually.
Yeah, absolutely.
You had the idea.
Young,
you had
old,
don't
crazy,
have the money,
crazy.
and you go for it.
Yeah,
And
we
we
know-
are here. We are all here, and I hope you also will be here with us every day, because it's drinks here in the race village. It's not a big race village, but it's a good ambience, and the skipper will be here every morning for the web TV, but also during the day. So
And the
it will
boats
be
are down
a
there.
lot
The
happening.
boats are down there.
And the boats are on the marina. All
Yeah.
11 of them in this corner,
Yeah, you'll
and
find
3
them.
of them in front of the hotel. So come to see us.
And thanks for MDL and Ocean Village and all those sorts of things. We don't have big title partners to talk about, but thanks to the team. And
Say to the
Campbell.
to the big title partner who will come.
Absolutely,
Maybe.
yeah.
During these
You
2
need to be
weeks.
here. Anyway, thank you, Campbell. Thank you, India.
Thank
That's
you
really
very
cool.
much.
Thank you, Dave.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Aida, and thank you. And thank you, Jane. Thank you, audience. Ooh, jeepers. Okay.